Have you ever found yourself stopping mid-sentence, wondering if you make a mistake or do a mistake? It's one of the most common mix-ups in English, and hey, it trips up pretty much everyone. But stick with me, and by the end of this, you're going to know exactly which one to use, and more importantly, why.
So, if you've ever had that little moment of hesitation, wondering which word is right, you are definitely not alone. It's a classic challenge. But here's the good news. There's a surprisingly simple rule that makes it all just click.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the problem. Let's start with the big one. Think about it for a second. Which one just sounds right to you? Do you make a mistake or do you do a mistake? It's in these exact kinds of everyday phrases where all the confusion starts.
And if you aren't 100% certain, then you are in exactly the right place. We are about to break this down, so you'll never have to second guess it again. All right, let's dive in. See, it all comes down to one simple basic rule that really separates these two verbs. Once you get this, everything else is going to start to fall into place. And here it is. This is the core difference. On the left, we use make when we're creating or producing something. The focus is on the result, a new thing that exists because of what you did. But on the right, we use do for actions and tasks. Here, the focus is all on the process of the activity itself, not what it creates. Result versus process. That's the key right there. So, with that rule in our back pocket, let's see make in action. You're going to see how it always comes back to this idea of creating or producing something new. Now, what's really interesting here is how all these phrases create something that wasn't there before. You make arrangements and boom, a plan is created. You make a choice or make a decision, you're creating a final resolution. And when you make a comment or make a phone call, you're literally producing communication. And the pattern just keeps going here. You produce an effort, you invent an excuse, you create friendships, you bring an improvement or progress into existence. And, yep, here it is, the answer to our first question, you create a mistake. That mistake literally did not exist until you made it. See how that works? It's all about the result. Perfect. Okay, let's switch gears over to do and see how our rule holds up. Now remember, do is all about the process, the action, the task, the job at hand. Take a look at these. They're all about activities and responsibilities, right? You perform a task, like doing your homework or doing the ironing. You engage in an activity, like doing some work. The focus isn't on some new object being created, but on the action of getting the task done. And it's the same thing here. Do is all about the action. You perform an experiment. You complete exercises. You perform a favor for someone. Even doing damage or doing harm is about the action of causing it. And when you do your hair, you're performing the task of styling it. It's all about the process. Okay, so we've seen the rule, we've looked at a ton of examples. But the big question is, how do you actually remember all of this? Well, there's a much better way than just trying to memorize a super long list. And this right here is the real secret. Instead of just memorizing, start looking for patterns. This is way more effective for remembering these collocations, which is just a fancy term for words that naturally go together. The trick is to group them. This slide is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Look at this. You can group all these phrases under the theme of communication. You make a comment, you make a contribution, you make an excuse, you make a phone call. They all fit together logically. Finding these little families of phrases makes learning them so much easier. So let's end with a final pop quiz. You know the rule, make is for creating something new, and do is for performing a task. So with that in mind, is homework something you create, or is it a task you complete? I bet you know the answer now. You've totally got this. Thanks for tuning in.